This presentation and video is a general introduction for how to use the demonstration spreadsheets that come with the Trial Edition software. When you ran setup, the Noetics views for subledger accounting were installed in your Oracle database. We've also provided a number of Excel spreadsheets as a demonstration of the types of reports you can create using the views. These 9 spreadsheets are all set up and ready to use as soon as setup is complete. 6 of them support the reconciliation process, and the 3 others are for general account analysis, exception reporting, and third-party balances. These 9 reports represent just the tip of the iceberg of what you can create with the views. Please note that the application-specific spreadsheets for payables, receivables, cost management, and projects will only return data if you are running those applications at your site. The same is true for the third-party balance spreadsheet. It can pull data from payables and receivables only if you are using those applications. All of the spreadsheets are set up the same way. Let's take a look at the general instructions for how to use them all. This folder containing the spreadsheets will be opened at the conclusion of the setup process. Note how they are all .xlsm or macro-enabled spreadsheets. This is important, and I'll explain what that means later on. You can double-click on any one of them to open it and begin accessing your data. Another way to access them is from the Start menu. To open a spreadsheet, go to the Start menu, find the Noetics Views Trial Edition for SLA folder, expand it, and then click on the one you want to use. For demonstration purposes, I'm going to use the AP Reconciliation Report. The first time you open a spreadsheet, you are taken to the About tab. In the Learn area, you'll find helpful information about the report, including a short description, the list of views used in the report, a link to the online video about that specific report, and another link to something called the SLA catalog. This catalog is where you'll find all the details about each of the Trial Edition views. See the online video titled Using the SLA Catalog for more information. In the Try area of the tab are instructions for how to enable the macros and data connections that the spreadsheet uses. You must enable both of these for the spreadsheet to work correctly. All the macros in these spreadsheets were built by Noetics. They're used behind the scenes to check the number of days remaining in your trial period and to operate the parameters on the Prompts tab. The data connections, also known as Office Data Connections or ODCs, are what load the data into the spreadsheets from the views in the database. Now I'm using Office 2007, and by default Excel will display this security warning whenever you open a spreadsheet that contains macros or data connections. When you click on the Options button, the Security Alerts window opens. In the section about macros, you'll see there are 3 choices to pick from. The top selection prevents the macros from running. The middle selection enables just the macros in this spreadsheet. The third selection enables all macros that are digitally signed by Noetics and tells Excel to trust them, including those in this spreadsheet as well as all the others in the other spreadsheets. By selecting this option, now you won't have to perform this step to enable macros again in this or any of the other spreadsheets. In the Data Connection section, there are 2 choices to pick from. The top selection blocks the data from being loaded into the spreadsheet. By clicking on the bottom selection, you're telling Excel it's okay to load the data. Unlike macros, there isn't a selection to always trust the data connections from Noetics. Instead, you'll have to enable data connections every time you want to refresh the data in the spreadsheets. Now you're ready to use the spreadsheet. Click where it says Use the Prompts tab, or click directly on the Prompts tab yourself. All the spreadsheets require that you enter parameter values before you can load the data, and many have a table displaying summary results as seen here on the right. To load the data into the spreadsheet, you must first log in. A dialog box appears with the Noetics Views account displayed along with the name of your database. Enter the password, click OK, and the number of days remaining in your 30-day free trial is displayed. The trial period started the first time the setup program was run. Once you hit the 30-day limit, you'll no longer be able to reload the spreadsheets from the database because the views in the database will have expired and will no longer return any data. Acknowledge the number of days remaining and notice the text in the message area. This is the indication that the lists of values for the parameters are being refreshed. In this AP reconciliation report, there are parameters for ledger, year, period, and for balancing, cost center, and natural account segment values. One of the things you can do is to personalize the spreadsheets by entering in your own segment names in the place of the qualifier names as you see here. Let's say, for example, that your balancing segment is named Company. You can enter that here. Let's also say that your cost center segment is named Department and that your natural account segment is named Account. By entering your segment names here on the Prompts tab, the names will also be updated in the Parameters area on the other tabs in the spreadsheet, making it slightly more intuitive to others you may share the spreadsheet with. Let's make our parameter selections for ledger, year, period, and I'll leave the company or balancing segment as it is. You are also required to enter values for the other segment values. However, if you don't want to refresh the data for a single value and instead want all values, select the % symbol as shown here. For this demonstration, I'm going to select a value for department. And use the % symbol representing all possible values for the account segment. Once these selections are made, click the Execute button to run the report and load the data into the spreadsheets. This is when those data connections we spoke about earlier are querying the views in the database. Note how the message box tells you which tab is refreshing. The tabs are processed one at a time, and if there is a summary for it, those results are automatically displayed on the summary table. When the last query is complete, the spreadsheet will switch to the first tab. Now you can begin working with your data. To conclude this introductory video, let's look at saving the spreadsheet with a new name and sharing it with others. To do this, select Save As and select the Excel macro-enabled workbook option. This will save it with the .xlsm extension that I mentioned at the beginning. So I'm going to give this one the name My SLA AP Reconciliation Report. Note how it still has the .xlsm extension, and click Save. You must save it like this as a macro-enabled spreadsheet with the .xlsm extension if you're ever going to be able to refresh the data using a different set of parameter values in this copy spreadsheet. You are certainly able to share these spreadsheets with your work colleagues. You can send them by email or save them on the network somewhere for others to access. People will be able to open them and view the data. And if they have the Noetics Views password, they'll have one of two things they'll need in order to refresh the data themselves. The second critical setup that is involved is that of the Oracle client software on their Windows machine. When setup installed the demonstration spreadsheets, it modified them by adding the name of the Oracle ODBC driver to the data connections. Because of this, the spreadsheets can only be run on other machines that have the exact same ODBC driver name as was on the machine where they were initially installed. Your IT department can help with the configuration of the ODBC driver on the machines of others who will be refreshing the data in the spreadsheets. This concludes the introductory presentation on how to use the demonstration spreadsheets. Here is a list of other instructional videos you may find helpful for the setup and use of the Trial Edition software.